How did we end up with leaders that we have these days? In a democracy where we're supposed to be electing people we want, right? Well, first of all, last time we had election in 2008, we had 6 people on the ballot in the most democratic state in the world, according to the rumors. And ask anybody today to name the candidates from the last presidential election, and you probably will get no more than 2, and the second one probably will be Sarah Palin. Anyway, the point is this: there is no choice anymore, and it probably hasn't been a choice for the past 30-40 years, because people who pay for elections, people who contribute money to any kind of, not only presidential candidates, but any kind of candidates, they want to see certain people in the office, people who will be, number one, listening to advice. Number 2, people who will be reasonable, who will want to find consensus, who will debate issues and listen to the reasonable advice. And of course, who's gonna be advising them? Well, not somebody, some schmuck on the street, right? And why would you, as a big-time investor in the market, for example, or a big-time banker, or a big-time corporate official, CEO, for example, recommend to the elected official something that's not going to benefit you, right? I mean, this is so obvious, everybody understands it, but when we have election, nobody talks about it. It's like this is like a non-issue. Why would a contributor want to elect an official like Napoleon, or like Alexander, or like Caesar, Julius Caesar, or like Peter I, Emperor of Russia? Why would you want these people in power? Of course you don't, because everybody knows they're nuts. They're as likely to kill your contributor when they become in power as they're listening to it. It all depends whether whatever contributors advise to them corresponds to what they're thinking themselves. If it goes along, okay, fine, I'm listening to you. If it doesn't go along, get out. At best. This is the thing, they're crazy people, the contributor wants to elect people like Louis XVII, they want to elect people like another Russian emperor, Nicolas II, those guys end up dead, but during their times in office, they do what they are recommended, they listen to advice, they are reasonable. They listen to intelligent, smart ideas, and then they say, okay, I go along, this sounds good. The people, the common people, I mean, look, the most famous, beloved and favored French leader of all times is still Napoleon. In Russia, everybody thinks Peter I was the best ever Russian leader ever, okay? Alexander, of course, Greeks love him, even though in the contemporary times they couldn't wait for him to die, because first of all they didn't consider him to be Greek, because he was a goat herder from Macedonia, from the mountains, and Macedonians didn't consider him Macedonian because his mother was not Macedonian, and they were very old-fashioned society at that time, and they just like, that's bullshit. Julius Caesar, the aristocrats didn't want him, but he went along with the people. He was given most of his wealth given away to the people. He didn't care because he understood. And if he people on his side, he doesn't need wealth. He's going to have power. Anyway, this is something that our bankers don't understand, because they spend all their entire life collecting, counting the money. They don't understand power. Doesn't matter. The point is that crazy people who are like Peter I. I mean, the guy was nuts. There are contemporary records in history from his time that when he became emperor a little bit later, he decided, we're not gonna have any more beard in the country. Beard, like back in the day, at that time, the Russian nobles, they considered the bigger the beard, the higher the nobility. Not directly, but the higher the nobility, you should have the longer beard. He's like, no, we're gonna look like Europeans, and cut the shit off. And a lot of people did, they already knew who they're dealing with. Like, he was like, before that, he was physically cutting heads of his enemies with an axe, walking around in public. But some people are like, I'm noble from like hundreds of years. My family has history, from the go down to the origins of the country. So there is a historical records that there are records that he would see somebody on the street from the highest nobility walking with a beard. He would grab an axe, run on the street, grab that person by the beard, and start chopping the beard. And if he felt that person wasn't appreciating what he was doing for him, he would beat the shit out of him too. Now, if you're a billionaire banker, will you contribute to a politician like that to get into the office? I doubt. Seriously, I doubt. You want Louis XVII, you Nicolas II, you want Obama, Bush, people who will listen to your advices, who will kill their career as a result, but they don't care. They don't care. That's why they elect them. And why do we have 6 people on the election box, of whom 4 names we don't even remember or didn't even recognize when we saw the box? Probably like 95% of people, I bet, they didn't even recognize the other 4 names on the ballot. This is called democratic. There is a great historical example of ancient Athens. Okay, 5th century BC, ancient Athens. They have just completely destroyed the armies of invading Persian Empire. They are in pinnacle of their power and wealth. They are running the entire Eastern Mediterranean through their system of trade ports. They have just built Acropolis. They are in command. They're beautiful. They have political system. They have democracy. They decide that this city, Syracuse, which is not even in Greece, in Sicily, it's like Afghanistan across the world, to them, offended them. They're gonna punish them. And who incited the Athenian people? A young politician who is making his career in the city. He goes around making speeches to everybody all over the place all the time. How great the expedition will be, how fast and easy, how nobody can withstand the level of our power and wealth right now, how it will pay for itself, how everybody will be in gold and jewels after everybody comes back, and then we finally will be able to completely destroy our arch enemies, the Spartans. And everybody, let's do it, build even more brand new ships, send the entire fleet there with 10,000 of their best young troopers who were the citizens. They didn't have like a hired army at that time. After he is done, the other fraction of politicians who were his enemies, they begin to incite people. You know what, this guy, he's like a Muslim in the closet, he does all this weird worship when he's in his house. He does all this weird religious stuff. There's some damages to the statues all of a sudden in the city. They say, oh, this is his follower, this is weird shit. And people like, yeah, weird. So as soon as the expedition arrives to Syracuse and lays siege to the city, they send emissaries for him to come back and answer to the court in Athens. So of course he knows his people. On the way back, instead of going back, he goes to Sparta and says, you know what your counterparts are doing right now? They're laying siege to Syracuse. After they successfully take that city, they will have so much money that they'll crush you. Spartans go, help the Syracusans, catch the Athenians by surprise, burn their fleet. At the end, the entire expedition is destroyed. Athens never recover financially, never recover in human resources and the military. And 30 years later, they're completely destroyed by Sparta. If the lesson is not learned, I don't know what should we tell